co-host with me, Tim Wood.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we have a guest co-host with us tonight, Linda Potter.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Would you please give us a like and please subscribe to the channel? We'd really appreciate it. Now tonight, our show is going to be so awesome. We have John Zaffis with us tonight, who is a demonologist, and they just concluded with a
48-hour live ghost hunt at the Wells house.
Yes.
And we also have Dave Spinks, who's been with me at the house since day one. And Dave will be telling a little bit about his experience over the weekend as well.
Hi, John. Welcome to the show. Everybody, we're talking with John Zaffis, a demonologist. And John, would you please tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, please?
I'm a crazy old man. I've been involved with the paranormal field for 41 years. And basically had an experience when I was 16 years old, and that was seeing the apparition of my grandfather. And once I had that experience, that really piqued my interest in what some of these things were all about. But what really set it off was a couple of days afterwards, my grandmother passed away, and she lived with us. So that made me really start to think about a lot of those stories that you would hear about deceased loved ones coming back to help them to cross over, and started delving into a lot of those things and reading as much material I was able to get my hands on, and then eventually started working on different locations around, going to notorious haunts, and eventually ended up working with my uncle Ed Warren, and spent many, many years working with him on cases. And then I decided I wanted to know about demonology, and started studying that for several years before I literally got involved with any of that. And 41 years later, here I am.
Well, John, we're gonna talk with you tonight about demonology, and then we want to talk with you about the Wells house, this haunted, horrific house in Wilkes-Barre. And of course, the owner over here is Tim Wood of this horrific house. And I know you just finished a 48-hour investigation in Wilkes-Barre with Tim at the house. And so we want to also find out your take on that house. But first, let's start with demonology. For those just joining us who may not know anything about demonology, could you please tell the viewers what is demonology?
Demonology is basically the study of a lot of different things. People, unfortunately, just associate it with Roman Catholics, but it's the study of demons and devils and deities, and a lot more is coming out these days about the jinn. And it's studying a lot of different religions and cultures and practices that are out there. Now, I'm Roman Catholic, but I'm a paranormal investigator / demonologist, and that means we need to have a good understanding of a lot of the different things that go on out there with people. So I took it, to learn as much as I could about the different religions and the practices out there, so that I would have a better understanding on how to be able to help people out there.
Mm-hmm. Now, demonology, though, is that connected, though, to somebody that is possessed by a demon?
No, demonology is just the study of the field,
okay,
of a lot of occult practices and different things. A person that has a demon with them, we would basically refer to them as a person that is possessed.
Mm-hmm. And how would you know if someone was possessed?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you go about it to be able to figure out what is going on with an individual, to find out if they actually are. There's several different methods. A person could be talking in languages they're not familiar with. You can have a religious item with you that you could put near an individual. So levitation, I mean, there's several different things that we look at, before I would even say that a person, is truly possessed. I mean, today we're fortunate. Most people have a better understanding of certain things that could be wrong with an individual. They could be bipolar, schizophrenic, multiple personality. And these things are most important to be ruled out before I would ever consider a person having a paranormal issue.
Now there's oppression and possession. What is oppression?
Oppression is the state where it's trying to wear down the individual, break them down, and to be able to take control. And the methods that are usually applied is you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't function, you can't think straight. And after a while, a person can reach that point where they're just so physically exhausted and mentally exhausted, they just say, okay, fine, do whatever you want. And this is what we find happens most of the time during an oppressed state with individuals. So
in oppression, could it move forward into the possession?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was just saying. When the person finally just says they're tired of arguing, they're tired of fighting, and they just give into it.
So when someone is in an oppression state, is that when you would you could perform a deliverance on them?
That would be the most opportune time. When a person's under oppression, it's a lot easier for our spiritual people to work with them. Pure possession is one of the most difficult things to encounter, let alone try to get them the correct spiritual help to free them. Because again, once that transpires, it already has a good hold on the individual.
Then what's the difference between deliverance and exorcism?
Very little. It's just the way that it's structured. Some of the prayers are a little bit different. And, it's very similar on the methods and the practices that are performed with that. And a lot of times we find with these situations, whether it's a rabbi, a priest, or a minister, that could be performing a spiritual practice to help an individual. It has a lot to do with them and the belief system to be able to help be able to break something.
I always wondered, John, after an exorcism has taken place and the demon is released from that individual, where does the demon go?
They are cast back into where they came from. And we refer to this in many ways as hell. And that's where they are cast back because they are not destroyed. They can only be cast back to where they came from.
Oh, interesting.
And John, what is your definition of hell?
I don't know. I think I was just there last weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I joke around a lot, guys. Sorry.
But we love it.
Okay. People have different interpretations of what they believe hell is. Some people look at it as brimstone and fire, and you're cast into this pit with a tremendous amount of fallen souls and devils and demons. Other people can look at it as we live in hell. A lot of people feel that way. Again, we know that there's different planes out there. There's different understandings of those planes. And it depends on the interpretation of what people believe in and don't believe in. As far as, do I think there's a physical place that we call hell? I'm not quite sure. I know there's things that have occurred. I know there's things that have happened, in the course of my career, where I could say there's things that I don't understand when interpreting different perspectives as heaven or hell. But I do believe that we do have different planes where things do occur.
Hey, John, how common is it for you to deal on a case or to get a case where there's actual demonic activity involved?
Well, with me, it's quite often because I intermingle throughout the world today. I could be, in a day's time, I can end up getting involved with several or 8 cases that could be legitimately dealing with something on a negative level. And I always say negative because I deal with a variety of different things. And there could be days where I just deal with things that are, just human spirit, or like I always say, Casper the ghost. So to me, it's continuous that I get involved with this, between emails or phone calls or dealing with different things. Probably a lot more than your average person, I'm sure, would, get involved with a lot of this stuff when it deals with the demonic stuff.
John, what are some of the most famous cases that you've been on?
Well, the Conjuring, the Paranormal Farm. I've had the opportunity to work on that. The Haunting in Connecticut is another one that, again, I was very involved with that. There's several other, notorious ones out there that I've been involved with over the course of the years. But those are about the two most famous ones.
Now, when you went on these cases, were you with your aunt and uncle, Ed and Lorraine Warren?
The Haunting in Connecticut, yes. I worked with for my aunt and uncle on that one. The Paranormal Farmhouse, I had worked with Jason and Grant on Ghost Hunters on that one.
Excuse me. Now, John, is there a link between disease and demonic possessions or exorcisms?
Demonic possession.
Did I say it wrong?
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay, John, is there a link between disease and demonic possessions?
Yes. It's a difficult thing to prove out, but it's a very unfortunate thing. We find that individuals that have gone through possession, they can become very ill. They can develop a lot of different illnesses. And one of them that's a very common trait is cancer. But now, if you look at it on the flip side of it, due to our environment and a lot of the other things that occur today, people do get cancer a lot more often. So it's a difficult thing to say, but I can't say to this day so far that I haven't worked on a case where it was true possession, where the individuals didn't end up becoming very ill afterwards.
This past weekend, you were on a 48-hour investigation at the Wilkes-Barre, the Wells House, the Tim.
Okay,
Tim
I know you guys are going to catch flack over there. It's Wilkes-Barre.
Oh, Wilkes-Barre. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Wilkes-Barre. Okay, John, I know you just completed a 48-hour investigation at Wilkes-Barre, and Tim is the owner of the Wells House. Now, that house scares the hell out of me. Tim has asked me to come there, and I won't go. Now, I watched you guys this past weekend, and you in particular were mentally attacked by the ghost box. Would you tell the viewers how you feel about the Wells House, and give me your definition of the Wells House?
It's extremely complicated. There's a tremendous amount, I feel, that tie in with that piece of property. There's a very strong intelligence there. When the boys were sitting doing the ghost box, and when you start to get information that comes through it, whether it's myself or anyone else, and that information is extremely personal about your life or people that are involved in your life, and it comes out through that, it's a deliberate thing. And the reason it's deliberate, it's to affect you, because it knows the right things or the right buttons to push with individuals. And there were several pieces of information that came through where I had basically said to Tim and Dave to shut that stupid box off.
Yeah, I remember that. So if they want to attack you in that way, what do they think you're going to do in retaliation for that?
I really can't tell you that there's going to be a retaliation as far as anything on my end, but that proved to me at that point when we were done that we were just dealing with something that was an extremely intelligent energy, and it was able to, pull in information.
So they intentionally try to hurt you, attack you, right? That's what they're doing?
Well, at that point in time, that is more of a psychological game than anything else.
Right. So
See, that you got to remember, that's how I view this as I work these things and I deal with them. When something comes at you from a personal perspective, it's because it knows it can, basically try to manipulate you on that personal level.
can you give me a description, your description of the house? Like demonic.
Yeah. The house per se is a very heavy house. When I had walked in there, and again, just going through the areas, and Dave and Tim were pointing out different things and explaining different things to me, you could just feel how heavy it's in there. You know how you can walk into certain places and you just go, this place is creepy. It's got that heavy feeling to it.
Yes.
Well, that's what Wells feels like. And during the course of spending that time there, I think just about anything and everything that could possibly happen, over 50 investigations happened within 48 hours in that house.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's what really took me back, and I had to take a step back and just analyze things. Now, it's not that I'm trying to be vague or anything, but please try to understand there's certain things that I just can't discuss right at this point. We're in midstreams of the investigation. So, again, when you have that tremendous amount of occurrences and things happening, you got to take a step back, because it's far and few in between that you're going to have activity continuously going on 2 days in a row. So, and this was happening, and I was just sitting there like, this is freaking unbelievable. And that's what I kept. Well, I was saying a lot worse than that.
I heard.
Again, when those occurrences take place, that tells me we're definitely dealing with things that are very intelligent.
Is this total negativity in this house? Could there possibly be any nice spirits left in that house?
Well, I think, in due time, we'll be able to find that out.
Mm-hmm. So, your advice to Tim right now, what would you say to him about...
Get out of Dodge. No. Again, I understand, Tim and Dave, when you're with people in these types of environments, you tend to become very good friends very quickly. And, in talking and understanding, they're looking at it from research. They're trying to find answers. And I can relate to all that, and I can understand what they're doing and how they're looking for it, because, gee, that's me. They're no different than me with wanting that information and the understanding of it, and the complexity of dealing with paranormal homes or property. Mm-hmm. So, it's intriguing, it's interesting, but I know where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to mention we have Dave on the phone. Did we mention Dave? Hey, Dave! Dave also was on the investigation with Tim and John Zaffis last weekend. What do you want to say?
Dave, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dave, what was your most memorable part of the weekend?
Well, there were several. The one that really, there was 2 occasions that really took me back. Actually, 3. The first one, when, like John was talking about, was when we were doing the eye ovulus, and like 9 or 10 things in a row specifically pertain to him, and it just, watching his reaction to that was pretty amazing to me, because it was directly, everything that came out of that eye ovulus was directed towards him. And then at the same time, you had set up the REM pod and the other millimeter as like a little perimeter, and we were getting hits on it at the same exact time, and like something was moving throughout the room, and then something touched me on the back of my neck. So that one was the first 2, and then the worst one was when I was up in the hell room, as we so joyously call that room, and something hit me in the throat, and I started like coughing uncontrollably for I don't know, it was a good 5 minutes, I think, wasn't it? I mean, it felt like something just socked me right in the throat, and where your chest and throat come together right there, and just out of nowhere when I was getting those real demonic sounding voices coming across the ghost box. So that really took me back. That was the first time I was physically, I felt something physically attack me, other than the other time we were there when I got ill. But so I felt something hit me, right there, and it really took me back.
John, what is going on with the house? Could those negative entities cause worse harm to, like, Dave and Tim in the house?
Absolutely. Again, we're dealing with multiple situations right at this point in time. So I was there. I was witness to what Tim went through. I was witness to what Dave experienced. And as far as I'm concerned, I saw no overreacting on either part. And we were in a room, the front living room there, and we just kept throwing wood into the fireplace because it would get so cold in there. Plus the heat was on, but anytime occurrences were happening, it would just get so cold in there. One of us was going over and just throwing another piece of wood into the fireplace. So again, that's a classic sign telling me that we're dealing with something in the environment of the home, is that when energy is getting drawn, it gets very cold. And especially when it's getting drawn from individuals, we tend to get very cold, and it's very difficult to warm up in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm. So how would you place this house then, with all the cases that you've been on? Where would you place this house?
At this point in time, it's up there. As far as, like I said, within 48 hours of occurrences and having so much happen, it's up there on the scale.
But
it's definitely up there.
Did you fear for your life at all?
No, because I'm very thick-headed and I'm old, and when I deal in these types of environment, I'm at that point where I look at something differently than another person, and I'll explain it to you. My focus was more on worrying about Dave and Tim. So therefore, I take the back seat worrying about something that might occur, or something that might be happening with me at that point. I'm one of those types of people, it takes me days later. I think Tim's even understanding this now too with me. Before I react or before I say something, I have to analyze things and I have to study things before I'm one of those that just jumps with that. So as things are occurring and things are happening, I'm taking it all in. I have to register this in my mind on the events as they are occurring and as I'm witnessing them, being a paranormal investigator / demonologist.
Now
that's the way I have to do that. Now, a bizarre thing that occurred as I was going home. I'm one of those people that when I'm in my car, I talk to myself. And I start, going over. That's when I do a lot of my thinking, and I talk loud. And at one point in time, when I was up, I think at this point I was right at the border of Pennsylvania and New York, or I was already in New York. I just can't quite remember. Anyways, I'm in there and I'm going back and forth talking about a few things, and I just reached a point. I just said something to myself, and all of a sudden the radio went crazy. I couldn't move the steering wheel, and my cap just flew off my head. Now, mind you, the window was closed. I did not have the windows open. So I pulled the car over, and naturally I started doing my prayers that I do and throwing holy water all over everything. And I just had to take the step back for a second and realize the intensity that this thing has. and the grip that it can, have over individuals that get involved with this house.
Now, Tim has said many times, and Dave, I believe as well, that when they go to the house, they feel like they're drawn to it, and they actually don't feel like leaving the house. They want to stay there. Did you have that same experience?
Oh, hell no, I wanted to get out. No. All joking aside, with the house, this is a key element. When you deal with something so severe, it's very seductive. It's the best way to describe it. And it pulls you in. And it's a very dangerous thing. So you got to be guarded, and you have to be careful, and you have to be wise enough to realize when you need to step away from the environment. Because it can entrench you, and it can really pull you into certain types of things, and Wells House is one of those types of homes.
Are you planning to go back soon?
Well, we are definitely working on that at this point, and I feel there's, still things I need to look through. There's still things I need to understand. There's things that Dave needs to understand, and also Tim, because it's a process. It's a learning process. And when individuals come together, and it's for a purpose and a reason, I find it important to try to complete as much of that as possible.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for Dave? Or?
No.
Lindy, do you have a question?
My mind is just swimming with all this because this field is incredible. It's quite an area of study in itself, and just listening to the little bit that I've heard and seeing the newspaper articles on the Wells House, I've never heard of anything that's quite so riveting. And I'd like to know, Dave, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right, hi Dave, we haven't met, but I've got to ask you, you've done other paranormal experiences clearly. What is your feeling every time you leave that house? How do you shake off all of the, I'm going to call it stickiness, that you experience while you're there?
Well, it's believe it or not, it's really hard. It takes me a good 2 or 3 days. Like when I came home, I was so exhausted that I literally slept for 12 hours straight. And you don't get much sleep in the place anyway because, when you're sleeping, your subconscious, you can hear noises, and you hear it constantly in that house. And you would always wake up and see what the heck was that or what was that. You always feel like something's watching you in that house. At least I do anyway. And it just totally drains you. The house just drains you of energy. I mean, I think John experienced that firsthand, and I know Tim has too because he's exhausted. Every time we've investigated that place, we've come out of there just totally spent and exhausted.
Mm-hmm. Are there any tools that you've discovered, that anything you can do before you enter the house that tends to insulate you in any way from the heaviness of that?
I do just a little protection prayer. I say the Lord's Prayer to please protect me and protect my friends while we're in there investigating. And then I also repeat it when I leave. That seems to help. I didn't do that on the first investigation, and, I had some really bad stuff happen in my life that, just it correlates with what's happened to other people that's actually lived in the house. And which is really mind-boggling in itself because we've all the people that investigated that location has had bad things happen to them in their personal lives after investigating it.
Except for me.
Yeah.
Don't lie, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tim, how do you feel? Now this is
Well, I'm sick right now. I don't know. I just came down with a pretty nasty cold when I got home, but I just rationalizing it as not being paranormal. But I just been working pretty long hours since I got home, So that's probably the reason for it. That's what I tell myself.
But the house, each time you go now,
Yep.
is it getting worse? The activity, the negativity in the house.
Yeah. The activity is pretty intense. It almost seems like it's like you're playing chess with something, or somebody that they're already like 5 moves ahead of you. Sometimes, so it can be extremely irritating, and it seems to give you little. It seems to lead you in certain directions for certain reasons, and it seems to play with you a lot psychologically. So even when I'm at the house, there were certain things that were said either through the ghost box or through the obelisk that I knew right away it was talking about, my home life and stuff like that. So it's very personal, some of the things. So, it's very, like John said, the house is very seductive. So you got to really be careful, when you're there. And, we've had a lot of people, actually I've had a lot of people try to contact me to go into it, and, they're not, no one's getting in there right now. It's too dangerous.
John, with the kind of activity and whatever is in that house, would any of them follow either Dave or Tim or anybody else that comes to the house?
It already has for me.
It followed you?
Yeah, home. Yeah. Well, it was weird. I won't go into it too much, but I had a family member who had described down to a T what Dave and I saw in the house when we were there back in October.
And you can't tell us what.
And every time I go out there, my family member says he sees, or said they see this, this manifestation, which I never told anybody about, because Dave and I were actually off camera when we both witnessed it, so no one knew on the show.
Did you tell John Zaffis about that?
Yeah.
So John, what is that?
Here again, we're dealing with something that has a strong intelligence to it. Dave's experienced things away from there. Tim has. I shared the car incident. That tells me that something was definitely, letting itself be known and letting itself wear its ugliness as far as, knowing that we know that they know, if that makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. I'm very much in agreement with Tim at this point in time. I think at what is happening, until there's more things figured out and everything, I think it would be extremely dangerous for people going in there, especially sleeping in there overnight. I would be very, very guarded with that at this point. But again, with you're doing research and you're trying to prove things out and you're trying to figure things out, you have to take chances sometimes to be able to do things, to comprehend them and try to evaluate them. But you have to go in realizing there's no guarantees. It doesn't matter whether it's Wells' house or any house that you go into. That's the chance that we take when we go and we get involved with them. We don't always necessarily know what we're dealing with, immediately, and you have to take that step back and just evaluate. And today, it's unfortunate, and it bothers me tremendously that people just jump in. And, that they want to see something. They want to experience something. They want stuff to happen. And I still do this, and I always will. Be very careful what you ask for, because it could end up happening.
Well, John, this house is so bad. Are you allowed to say what you think went on in that house? And it probably is for dates back to the 1800s, Tim?
Yeah, the house does, yeah.
And so are you allowed to say what you think was going on in that house all these years? And then I guess it progressed?
It's very hard to say right now. We're still evaluating everything. We're still, poking through. That takes time, and that's why I never ever come to a very quick conclusion with anything, because you can turn around and say something and then have something proven out wrong. And as time goes on, you can piece the puzzle together.
But John,
And
it has to be really bad things that went on in that house for the house to be the way it is. What would, like, something bad? Would it be like voodoo, mutilation of some kind? It has to be something really bad for the house to be that bad, though.
well, that again too. I mean, Tim has found articles with some of the things that occurred, on the property, or found out, different things about bones and these other things. At the point in time when you're reading a story, it's just that. It's a story. But once you're able to start digging in and doing, research and things like that, and you're able to substantiate that story or that claim, that's, to me, is what's more significant than just reading a story.
Hey John, when you you have a museum, and have you had or found boxes like the one that was described in the news article before?
Yeah, there's a couple of them, Tim, that I have with the bones in it,
Right.
and they are tied together. There's rocks and different things that are in the boxes, and they're used for different things. It could be used for Santeria, it could be used for voodoo, it could be used for many different practices. And these are just tools, that people could use to either provoke something or to try and bind something. It could be used in either direction.
Do you have any more questions, Linda?
Yeah, it seems to me, John and Dave, that this seems to be the ultimate puzzle. This is a big puzzle. And I imagine there's so many facets, it sounds like, that it's going to take a while to understand it, to know what you're dealing with. Fair to say, John?
Absolutely. Again, it's intriguing. This house is seductive. I'm sure Tim has filled you in. It's not often that I would get a telephone call from somebody and you're going to start to tell me a story about a haunted house, and the next day I'm in my car going to it.
Yeah.
Especially by myself. I mean, you have to think about that. Dave and Tim didn't know me. I didn't know them. And here this crazy old kook is driving by himself all the way down to Pennsylvania to catch up with these two. So, I mean, these things go through, in our normal lives, you have to think about these things. And I did not even have any reservation. That's what surprised me about the whole. I had no reservation about getting together with them. I didn't have any reservation about going there by myself. And that right there for me is scary.
Do you think, John, because this is the work that you do day in and day out, do you sense that you have an intuitive feeling about certain houses, and that possibly this was a draw? Do you think it was the house drawing you, or do you think it was more of an intuitive hit that you were to be involved in this?
To be honest with you, it was several. It was several things. My conversation with Tim, listening to him as he was sharing things, and then as he was telling me some of the information, I was extremely intrigued about some of the stories, some of the people that have been involved with this over the course of many years. So all these things were intriguing with this piece of property. And, again, that's part of it that I think drew me into it. Because I would never in a million years tell anyone, hey, just go out there and investigate by yourself. To me, that's breaking a big rule on my part. And I did it. I broke my own golden rule. So now I have to deal with my whole paranormal team because I did it. But again, it is something, and as we're going in and we're digging in, and all of us are finding out different pieces to put it together, I find it entrenching. Trying to figure out why the three of us got pulled together with this whole thing, and it's amazing. It's the best way I can put it to you. It's an amazing journey, if you will.
I have to ask one more question because now you got me pulled in. I'm being seduced by this whole world that is so foreign to me. The work that you do, is there a normal time frame that you put on your research of homes that are this egregiously affected by whatever it is that's in there? Is there a particular time frame, or is each place very different?
Well, each place is different. I mean, you have different levels of activity that were going to occur or happen, so therefore that can end up taking less time with evaluating something. Like I said, with me, I don't have a set time framing where I could say yes, I could say no to something, because again, to me, it's the most important thing to get in there and validate or find out some of the things to be able to substantiate claims. That's a very significant thing. Because again, a lot of us, within the paranormal field, we get telephone calls, oh, my house is haunted, and, the furniture's flying all over the place, and the doors and windows are opening and closing. Yeah, that's nice. That's a story you're telling me. To me, it's important to be an investigator to get in there and evaluate and look for those claims to see, do we have something happening on a logical reasoning, or do we have something that's happening and falling under that paranormal umbrella? That's the key thing, and that's the most significant part of doing what we do in the paranormal.
Hey John, what was the first thing you experienced in the house besides the feelings that when we were walking you around? What was the first thing that you experienced that made you think? Yeah,
I think the first, well, I shouldn't say I think, I know the first thing was that freaking dragging across the floor.
Have you had other cases where you've heard that before?
Yes. Not that consistent, though. Just not that consistent.
What does the dragging across the floor, what do you think that symbolizes, or what type of, do you think that's more of like a residual type of sound, or do you think it's, what's your take on that?
Tim, we could be looking at several different things when that could be residual. We are dealing with what is that house, 160?
Yep.
Yeah, 160 years old. I mean, you're going to have residual. You're going to have, multiple different types of energies that could be affiliated, or we could be careful and be guarded and say it's a good possibility we're dealing with one big, nasty-looking type scenario.
Right. So
again, it's something that I think each and every one of us evaluate and we're looking at. And guys, I'll tell you, I get the biggest kick out of Tim. This guy tries to rationalize everything.
Now, I noticed on the investigation that you conducted last weekend, you just mainly used the Ovilus, a digital voice recorder, and the ghost box. Now, would there be any other equipment that you guys should bring in when you're there for doing the investigation?
I feel those are significant right there. I mean, they were using, Dave had his, oh God, I'm drawing a blank, the pod,
RAM pod.
He had the ramp pod. I mean, and, they had cameras set up absolutely everywhere throughout that house. To me, man, oh man, did they cross their T's and dot their I's as far as getting documentation and being able to, get everything recorded. They did one heck of a job. So again, when you use tools, and to me they're using what is significant right in this point in time, they're evaluating it and calculating and putting everything in order that the way it needs to be done. They're doing a fantastic job with that.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Cool.
Dave, is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I just like to agree, with some of the documentation and stuff that Tim and I, we've been researching the crap out of this place, and it just seems like every time we go, we add another layer to this whole deal, and it's going to take us a lot of time just to peel back each layer and get to the bottom of each of those layers to where we can maybe pin it down to, like John said, one thing or multiple things. And, I think personally it's going to come down to multiple things that's leading to all this activity at this house.
Lynn, did you have any other questions?
No, it's completely fascinating, and from the sounds of it, I don't know that I've ever heard of a more haunted place. So I'm really going to be interested in sitting at the edge of my seat to see what you, Dave, and John, and Tim find out about this house.
Awesome. Any questions? Anything else?
Nope.
You want to end it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And John Zaffis, it was such a pleasure and a treat to have you on the show.
Do we have to wrap up?
Oh, no, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Okay, here's what I'd like to do. I'm turning the tables here on these two.
Oh man.
Yeah. Dave, what I'd like to know is, and I think the audience would really like to hear it, what was your impression that 48 hours with the three of us in the house with me joining you guys? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
Are you talking to me, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was thinking on numerous of times, I was like, wow, what, this is like a journey, and I'm thinking constantly, how did we all three come to this location together? I mean, it was mind-boggling. And then the fact that we were all sharing these same experiences together, it's just mind-boggling, the whole scenario. And I think I even told you that. I was like, how did we, this blows me away. How did we all three come to this situation like this? And it was like we knew each other for 20 years or something. I thought we all, worked really well together. We understood what each other was doing. And I just thought it was a great investigation overall. And to have someone with your experience there, John, and confirming the things that me and Tim have already experienced was just, a great experience for me in itself. And then, me and Tim, we worked together on several now, and we're getting to know each other a lot better. But just having us three there, I mean, that whole situation just blew my mind. I'm like, how did we come to here? And you guys know who I'm talking about, especially the person we interviewed. That was a very, very spiritual kind of experience for me as well. I'm sure you guys can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was one of the things that I was curious on, what your input was on that, Dave, because I watched you as this meeting took place. Sorry, guys, got to stay quite vague with some of that, but meeting with a very genuine and very powerful person from a spiritual perspective, and I was very intrigued. I was very impressed and happy with the way things went. And like I said, I watch people and I see people how they interact with everything. And I saw that you were very interested, Dave, in what he had to share, and that was key, and that was important. And I think all three of us walked away looking at it a little bit differently than prior to going to the meeting. Like you said, each and every individual we seem to come up against or talk to at this point in time, I mean, it just blows my mind. But Tim, what's your input, bud?
I was just, kind of taken back by the whole thing. I talked to you and told you, many of the things that I experienced and Dave and the other people there. But to have somebody come out and actually validate and not, and actually coming up with more stuff was really, it made my jaw drop, because just being dropped into this whole situation, for me at least, it's very, it's been a very weird journey. And, like John said before, I'm the type that tries to rationalize everything. And there's a lot of things that I just can't rationalize anymore. And I'm to the point where I'm just going to stop almost trying to rationalize, because it's just, for me, it's just real exhausting. But, the whole thing of how we came together, and it was very, very strange, and how everything just kind of, all came together with us. And, I'm just looking forward to see where, this journey takes us all in the future.
It was supposed to happen, guys. That's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here again, too, this part we could share. Tim and I had gone back and forth on emails, and Tim never got my emails several weeks ago. And it was just a mutual friend of ours that, basically had us talking and, going back and forth. And it was just mind-blowing realizing that I had responded back to Tim's email, and he just never got it. Wow. And that was several weeks prior. So, again, when these things occur and these things happen, was there something trying to block that so that the connection didn't take place? I honestly do believe that.
It's still happening to this day. Our mutual friend, I've been sending him emails and stuff, and he has not been getting them. And it's the first for me. I've never had any issue. And I've been sending, trying to send some documents over to John, this week. And, it's just been like a real struggle, communicating back and forth. And that.
So why does something like that happen?
I just think that it's kind of like blocking, or trying to block communication. And I think as you get closer, like in some of the things I've worked in the past, as you get closer to finding out, or getting closer to, the truth, it seems you get, blocked in many ways,
Now you came up with a demon name.
Yeah, I won't say it online, but or on the show, but it's very strange. And sometimes, when John and I were talking, and even Dave, about they can tell you names and stuff like that. But I mean, my experience is that they're not just going to come out and tell you their real name. I mean, it'd be stupid for them to do that. So, and there could be many things there. So we're still trying to figure that out.
You feel you're getting closer?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, you get a question answered, and you get 5 more questions followed with that answer. I mean, John, yeah. I mean, we were just talking about this today. So.
And John, you do this all the time, so it sounds, what I'm getting just listening to you guys, that this is a pretty monstrous task for you and Dave, your team, Tim. You're getting to know the place. I know Tim's getting to know the place pretty well. Dave too. You guys were in this on the beginning, and it's huge, is it not, compared to most research jobs that you do like this?
Well, on my end, like I said, when you start looking into things, and you can hear a story, and then you start to find out things are factual, and you can back that with facts, then it's intriguing. And, it's a very old piece of property. So again, there's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot to it. And as things unfold, it just seems there's just something else that comes up behind it. And you have to just start digging and going into several different things right at this point in time. But I would definitely say that this is up there on the scale of hauntings. Yes, it is. It's definitely up there.
Right.
Interesting.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Awesome. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. We really appreciated you.
And thank you,
coming
Dave.
on. And Dave, thanks so much for joining us too. So everybody, with that, we're all going to say goodnight. Thank you so much for joining us. Please give us a like and please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Omówiono najważniejsze sprawy związane z dalszym rozwojem projektu.